All right. Thank you for bearing with us to get through the tech issues. Ladies and gentlemen, Rhett Ricart has joined us again.
Are you good with me here?
I'm good with you here. Can you hear me?
All right, great. Hey, well, listen, really appreciate it. You know, Winston Churchill said, if you find yourself going through hell, keep going, right?
That's right.
Where we're at right now, it's a big moment in the automobile industry. We got what's happening today is just unprecedented, and the NADA has been challenged with it, but we're up to the challenge. I tell everybody the NADA is like we're not a fire extinguisher, we're a fire station, and we're open 24 hours, 7 days a week. This thing has changed the way customers are buying cars, their purchases, how they're deferring purchases. No one's Nostradamus in this whole deal. They don't really know how to figure the whole thing out, And people ask me all the time. I get dozens of calls every day, and I said, I'm not a clairvoyant. I don't have a clairvoyant. I can tell you that you got to handle this thing one link at a time, like on a chain. You just got to handle it one link at a time when you're looking to the future. So we heard of the announcement with our Treasury Secretary about the $2 million PPP forgiveness and how they're going to look at it in the future. And all of a sudden, all the dynamics have changed. But, in the grand scheme of things, we got our arms around it. We know what we're doing. When our sales went off the cliff back in March, and it did for everybody, we still have some hot spots across the country right now that have, they have very dismal sales, and they're more affected than others. So I think it's dangerous when you have a broad brush stroke approach to this and you try to say, well, we're just going to say this and it's going to solve everything. Every community is different. You have mayors now flexing their muscles as much as the governors now in each one of these states, and setting up their own guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. So the dealers at home, we're part of the community and we stay connected, which is important, and community leaders. So I've never been prouder to be leading at the helm of the NADA right now, with some of the great things I see dealers doing. So with that, it's amazing to me when I take a look at some dealers have their sales are off 50, 60, 70, 100%. And right. Yet they're in their communities doubling down on their efforts to help their communities. They're opening up and Meals on Wheels, and they're doing concerts in the back of pickup trucks, and they're offering vehicles, and they're opening these crazy hours to be able to get the essential workers, and it's just amazing. And that's the beauty of the NADA dealer body, 18,500 dealers in these little communities all across the United States, solving these community problems for them, one-on-one, because each community has such a unique need right now.
Yep, and absolutely.
And I've never been prouder. It's amazing what the dealers are doing.
An interesting story. I was part of a dealer who actually put on a drive-in Easter service in his lot. He cleared his lot out and had hundreds of cars lined up and got the rate, leveraged all his marketing relationships to get the radio to broadcast it live. And thanks to the dealer, we had Easter.
Yeah, and there's a plethora of different stories, and I always tell everyone, and I'm not taking a wild shot at anybody, but sometimes with having dealers in each community for over 100 years has been the reason we've been successful for delivering what our communities need. There's always been questions about direct sales from a big monolith in some city, and they're going to somehow satisfy all these customers in all these different communities. Well, right. I got to tell you, the formula is right in front of us. The dealers are delivering one-on-one. Even as I said before, with the decline in sales and the decline in revenue and all these other things. And never forget, this PPP program, dealers are trying to employ their people. They try to employ their employees. We're doing everything we can to keep them employed every day, to keep them on, as well as if we've had layoffs, find ways to bring them back into our fold. 35% of the dealers in the United States sell less than 300 new cars a year. 35% less than that's 25 cars a month. I mean, even if they match it one-to-one with you, that's 50 a month. That's 35% of the dealers. Yet they're the ones in their communities doing all these great things, and they're the ones trying to keep everybody on their payroll. Every day they're out there. And I've never been prouder of our truck dealers, the ATD truck dealers. I mean, these guys are running around the clock, delivering 70% of the cargo in the United States is done by semi-truck. 70%. Yep. Without them, where would we be? Yeah, we'd be
you said it. You said it in the last time we spoke a few weeks ago. You said the automotive community is the blood that runs through the veins of America, and I think putting that punctuation mark on it. 25 cars a month, but guess what? Staple of the community, and you nailed it right on the head. You said for dealers that are looking for a way to differentiate from a big behemoth that's going to come in and sell a bunch of cars, like you've been delivered it on a silver platter. Lean into this and serve the community, because it's one thing you can do that no one else can.
And the beauty of what's happened right now, things aren't going to be the same. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. They're not going to be like they were before, but they're very adaptable in the things we can do, which is at-home delivery for service, online sales, and there's lots of vendors out there that can help these dealerships right now. You need to get on it. I said this before. I keep saying it again and again and again. That's how customers are going to reach out to us, because this thing is not going to disappear overnight. It's going to have a long tail on it, the length of a dragon somehow. As I said, I'm not a clairvoyant, but I do know that dealers are adapting right now. They've been on more webcasts and podcasts with a lot of these vendors, figuring out how to make their business better and how to get themselves to the next level to be able to satisfy these customers out there that have new expectations.
Oh, yeah.
They have new expectations out of us right now, and quite frankly, we're delivering it to them. It's amazing. In some areas in the country, it's not so bad. I mean, they're kind of figuring this formula out.
What are you seeing, like, from across the country? You have a really interesting bird's eye view perspective. What are the areas of the country that you see kind of operating still the strongest?
Well, usually it's in a place that has more space. If you look in areas like North and South Dakota and areas in Minnesota, areas, a state where, people build a house on 10 acres or 15 acres.
Right. They're social distancers at heart.
Spatial thing going, right? They have that all going. So it doesn't matter who they come in contact when they do the business. But when you get into heavy urban areas, it's extremely difficult to try to control this type of thing. And dealers are adapting the best they can in the urban areas. And that's pretty simplistically the way it is that we've seen it. And you can look at a lot of the graphs. I know the Wall Street Journal did a few of them trying to explain these hot spots. But it's different in each area of the country. I'm not a scientist. I don't want to be a scientist. All I know is that the NAD is continually trying to deliver our 1 o'clock programs, Lifeline series for the dealers that need help, so we can help them. There's over 500 of them to be able to keep up to speed. And then the coronavirus update every day at 6 o'clock to keep up to speed. As I said, look what happened Monday with the Treasury Secretary. Things changed overnight. So I've said this before, and I'll say this again. There's more to come, but don't worry about it. The NAD, we got this. We're following. We know what's going on.
So you quoted Winston Churchill at the very beginning of this. This is definitely, like, there are peacetime generals and there are wartime generals, and right now, whether you wanted to be or not, you are a wartime general. And I kind of get the picture from your mentality and who you quote. That's kind of how you're wired. Just a kind of more personal question, like, who are some of the leaders historically that you look up to and draw from? We already heard you quote Winston Churchill. Who are the others?
Well, my favorite's Teddy Roosevelt. I always thought Teddy Roosevelt was a man among titans. He, grew up a man of not a lot of physical stature, developed himself in the Rough Riders. He joined the United States government and made, if you're an outdoors person like I am, saved all of our federal land. People say, "What are you doing? You're crazy. Why are you doing this?" You'd rather, I think he always says, you always want to have more action than inaction, and he was a man of action.
Sure was.
Right now, just like yourself and others in the industry right now, as my dad always says, when something comes up in life, you're either going to be the one that's going to move the needle or you're going to hold the needle, and in our case, we're moving the needle. We've stepped up everything at the NADA, whether it comes to our advocacy, whether it comes to our educational programs, and even in addition, all of our communication we have. We've had a mountain of webcasts and podcasts and communications. All of our directors and all of our states, our ATAEs, our phones are open all day long to be able to communicate with our body. And that's what makes the NADA so powerful.
That's so great.
I'm telling you, everybody communicates. And when you take a look at it, we have almost every dealer in the United States is a member of the NADA. How powerful is that? You come out of the locker room and everybody wants to win the game, And so many associations out there right now have, like 30 or 40% participation or membership, like the medical community, et cetera, et cetera. No, Our whole team comes out of the locker room 100. We're all on it. We're all in this game together, and that's what makes it survive too. And that's what's going to make us. We're going to thrive again, and we're going to look a little different. We're going to change, and we're going to have to, do a few changes to how we do business. But nothing so dang radical. We can't handle it. Dealers can handle this.
Without a doubt, that is an amazing encouragement. I didn't know the participation was that level. In the NAD. That's actually staggering, being the largest retail industry anyway, and to have that level of participation. For people that aren't in the automotive industry, you just can't understand the mentality of when you're in it. Like, it's the perception of what it is and what it actually is on the inside. It really is, like you said, everyone's coming out of the locker room saying, how do we win the game?
And it's so powerful. And we've created tremendously strong alliances with the Alliance of Innovation, which is the new OEM representation. And we're great friends with the people at the Department of Transportation, with NHTSA, with the EPA. We have relationships with them. We've developed those over 100 years. Because as I said before, we vet all the facts. And when we get up on Capitol Hill, we get to a regulator, we know exactly what we're talking about. We have our narrative, exactly what they need to hear. And it's true. We always spread the truth. And that is so critical, especially that's how you develop relationships. You develop relationships on truth. Okay?
That's right.
Not necessarily facts. You got to base it on truth. And so that's why I think that's what's so about it. And by the way, when you go on Capitol Hill, they recognize the fact that almost every dealer in the country is a member of the NADA, and they understand the power of our relationship with these other entities in our industry as well as ourselves. So you always have a good ear. You always have a good ear.
Well, Rhett, you absolutely delivered. I think everyone's fired up and feeling good. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know you're running like crazy. I want a special thank you to the NADA and the PR department for making this work and making it come together. Thank you, as usual, for getting us going.
Yeah, and just a quick last words. I want to thank the dealers of the United States right now for everything you're doing. Hang in there. I told you, we got this. I'd like to thank the ATAEs, all these state organizations. They're working around the clock for this thing. They're doing it. And all the staff at the NADA, you're amazing. It's unbelievable when you see they're working harder now than ever before. We really appreciate it.
Rhett, thank you so much. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.